I would like to call the Board of License Commissioners meeting to order December 8th at 4 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and read into the record the open meeting law. In accordance with Governor Charles D. Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, Section 20, the Board of License Commissioners will be convening via remote conferencing services on Tuesday, December 8th, 2020 at 4 p.m. And that will air on Quincy Access Television, QATV channel, QATV 9 Government Access. And pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Sue, can you please call the roll?
Sure. Deputy Chief Bayless? Present. I see you.
Present.
Thank you. Director Duca?
Present.
Commissioner Jones?
Present.
Chief Keenan?
He is going to be on the call. He's just going to need another minute.
Okay. And Chair Crispo?
Present.
They'll have a quorum.
Thank you. So I would like to go ahead and start with agenda item number 1. This application was withdrawn at the request of the applicant. They are not ready yet at Emmelise's Breakfast and Lunch for a transfer of their common victualler license, so they will reschedule at a later date. Agenda item number 2, hearing regarding the request of Panda Momo's Tea Inc., doing business as Moji Tea for a common victualler license for the premise located at 54 Billings Road. Proposed manager Minyu Chen. Proposed hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Ying Hung and Minyu Chen are here to represent Moji Tea. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Nice to see you guys.
You as well. Why don't you tell us what you're planning on doing at Moji Tea?
So Moji Tea is one of the popular bubble tea brand also. So we are the franchise of the Quincy.
Okay. So your hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And what are you going to be serving there?
We're going to serving the bubble tea only. I'm not going to sell any food over there.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask any of the audience participants if anybody has any questions or concerns with Moji Tea for a common victual license for the premise located at 54 Billings Road. Seeing none, board members, any questions or concerns for Moji Tea?
No.
Seeing none.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the request of Panda Momo's Tea Inc., doing business as Moji Tea for a common victualler license for the premises located at 54 Billings Road. Proposed manager is Minyu Chen. Proposed hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. Represented by Ying Hong and Minyu Chen.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You're all set.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Next item on the agenda is number 3, hearing regarding the request of Koi Fortune Inc., doing business as Mr. Picklefish for a common victualler license for the premise located at 669 Hancock Street. Proposed manager, Yuzing Zhang. Proposed hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Yulin Zhang is here.
Yes.
And is on the call. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hi.
So we propose to open a Chinese
small restaurant for the pickled fish. It's mainly served by the pickled, like a Chinese traditional like pickled fish.
Okay. Do you plan on having anything else on your menu, or is it just going to be pickled fish?
It will be different flavors of the soup base for the fish.
Okay. And that's 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Is it takeout only, or do you have seating there as well?
They have the 8 seating.
We have 8 sittings, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you do delivery, or is it just come in and take out?
It just come in and take out. We do not do delivery. We will not have drivers for that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns for Mr. Pickled Fish for a common victular license at the premise located at 669 Hancock Street? Seeing none, board members? Any questions or concerns?
7 days a week, Nicole?
Yep, 7 days a week.
I'd like to make a motion. Grant the request of Koi Fortune Inc., DBA Mr. Pickled Fish, for a common victular license for the premises located at 669 Hancock Street. The proposed manager is Yulin Zhang. Proposed hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 12 a.m., 7 days a week, represented by Yulin Zhang.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
You're all set. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you
luck.
so much. Thank you, guys. Yep, thank you.
Okay. Agenda item number 4 was continued until January 2021, at which time the city traffic engineer will have a traffic remediation plan for discussion. Councilor McCarthy was in favor of this continuance. This was at the request of Attorney Harrington on behalf of Quincy Chicken, doing business as Popeyes Louisiana Chicken. So they have continued until January. So we'll go right to agenda item number 5, hearing to review the ongoing violations of the state's phased reopening plan, COVID-19 violations, including Friendsgiving event, overcrowding, and not enforcing the mask requirement, as well as violations of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34, unlawful sale of alcohol beverage to a person under 21 years of age. In Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12, on-premise license allowing alcohol to be taken off the premise at the Crack Pub at 536 Washington Street. Attorney Peter Paschuko and Stephen Kelly are here in attendance this afternoon. At November 10th hearing, the board voted to suspend the license for 3 days on 12/3, 12/4, and 12/5 for violations of state phased reopening plan COVID-19 violations. Attorney Persuco, on behalf of Mr. Kelly, filed an appeal of a suspension with the ABCC. At the November 24th hearing, the board voted to stay the suspension pending the ABCC's hearing. Today's hearing is to review additional violations: state phased reopening plan COVID-19 violations, 11/14 Friendsgiving event, 11/25 was the night before Thanksgiving, 11/25 violations under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34, unlawful sale of alcohol beverage to a person under 21. In Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12, on-premise license allowing alcohol to be taken off the premise. Under the public records request, legal counsel for Stephen Kelly in the Crack Pub, Attorney Peter Paschuko, was issued all the subsequent reports and pictures for the record. All board members received the same information prior to today's hearing. I would like to, at this time, give the opportunity to Attorney Pasuko and Stephen Kelly. I know that you have received the packet, and if you wish to speak now, you may. If you wish to not speak at this time, that's fine too.
Yeah, I'll speak briefly if that's okay with the board members. I think first and foremost, Steve, who's seated here to my right, wants to work with the city. He wants to remain open, and he wants to provide a safe space for his patrons. And I think with the rising numbers and the governor's latest orders this afternoon, I think he's going to have to take it day by day and night by night and shift by shift in order to do that. But he is committed to working with the city and making sure that protocols are met and this and that. With respect to the two incidents that we're here today to speak about, I just want to point out a few things. The so-called Friendsgiving event on November 14th, I don't believe anyone from the Quincy Police Department, the licensing division, was actually inside the premises that night. My reading of the materials was that staff actually proactively called the Quincy Police Department, or someone else called on their behalf, because there was an individual who was trying to gain access, who was threatening patrons and shouldn't have been on premise. That person was never served. So the staff actually did the right thing in trying to keep that person out. The officer that authored the report, again, never went into the premise, never gave an estimate of the number of people that were there. Indicates that several people outside were wearing masks or weren't wearing masks. I don't think Steve has any specific authority over people who are off premises outside, not specifically wearing masks. But again, we don't even have a number. And then the photographs that seemed to have been culled from social media. Again, this was actually one of the only days that Mr. Kelly took off the entire month of November, as luck would have it. But again, those are photos, coming from various social media accounts that I don't even know who these specific people are. And again, that's fine if the investigators are going through every bar, pub, restaurant, licensed premise, for social media photos showing violations, that's fine. But, I just want to make sure that the crack pub and Stephen's not being singled out, because I don't really think that social media photos always give the full story of what's going on. So, that's with respect to the November 14th incident. Again, the November 25th incident, Lieutenant Turowski indicated that it was a routine inspection. I don't know how routinely they're doing inspections of the crack pub or of other premises, but there was a doorman working that night. The tables were set up, as I know that Steve's been working with the Board of Health to do so. He was present that evening. It was about 9:30. He had just given last call. People had finished eating their food, were on their way out. I know that Lieutenant Turowski indicates that there were about 40 to 50 people in the pub that evening. I took a look at the photographs. I've spoken with Steve, and I think that's quite an overestimate of the number of people inside. And I also took a closer look at the photographs, and it looks like a lot of the people, or most, if not all, were actually sitting at tables as they should have been. The individual that was determined to be underage, I don't think Lieutenant Turowski pressed him as to whether he had exactly which ID he used to get into the pub. I think that the evidence will show that he may have used a fraudulent ID to get into the pub. And there's no evidence that he was served. By his own admission, he had taken a mixed drink off the table as he was exiting and sort of hid it in his jacket. And again, just as Lieutenant Turowski put in his report, that the individual who was underage and purportedly served was sober. He wasn't drunk. So even if we're to say that he was served, which we're not, he wasn't overserved. So those are just our responses. Again, we're not here to give anyone a hard time, and I just can't stress enough that Steve, again, I don't know if anyone can see him, but he wants to work with the city, and he doesn't feel as though he's being portrayed as the type of bar owner that he is. Someone that's committed to that. So that's our statement for now. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to open it up to the board. If anybody has any questions, concerns, either in response to the comments that were just made, or to the pictures or the reports that are in your packets.
I have a question, Nick.
Yes, Chief.
Let me ask the question. Was he aware that there was going to be a Friendsgiving event at his bar that night, although he wasn't there?
I could let him answer that.
I believe a few of my regulars wanted to somewhat get together that day before the holiday. There were about, as far as I know, there were about 10 to 15 people. I was not present, unfortunately, for that situation. They were aware all the rules and regulations that had to be followed that day, and it was not a private event by any stretch of the means. It wasn't. The bar was open to business like it for normal hours for anybody that would happen to have been in there.
Okay. The other question that I had was, you said there was no evidence of a fake ID. How do you know that there was no evidence? And how do you know that he did not or did use a fake ID? You said that he didn't use he used a fake ID potentially. There's no indication of that in any report, and I'll ask Lieutenant Turowski that same question.
My understanding of it, and maybe Steve can expound on this, but he spoke with the doorman who had indicated that specific individual had shown what would appear to be a valid Irish passport. And then when Lieutenant Turowski spoke with him outside, again, I'm making an assumption here, he wasn't going to hand over the fraudulent passport to him, so he handed over his state ID, which showed that he was underage.
So you're just assuming?
I'm assuming that Lieutenant Turowski didn't press him for his actual Irish passport, but again, and maybe Steve can expound on this, but the doorman, as he remembered it, that specific individual showed him what appeared to be a valid Irish passport.
Are you leaving? Something I can fill out the form with Joe P.
Lieutenant Turowski, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yes, I did not find any fake ID on that underage male, and I did not find the passport. He also stated that he was a U.S. citizen and was not from Ireland. That was my first question was, what did he have to gain entry? Did he have a passport? Because I assumed he was probably one of these young kids that comes over to work here for a short period of time, and he stated no, he had a Massachusetts driver's license as well. He also works for a construction company that does a lot of work within the city of Quincy.
Thank you. I would also like to make clear that this Friendsgiving information came to us from somebody that was at the party who was nervous about the conduct there that day and forwarded us this information. So it wasn't something that we went out and investigated. It was something that came to us in an email, just for the record.
Lieutenant
And if I
Turowski,
could just ask for the record, Lieutenant Turowski, did you search the individual subsequent to arrest, and/or did you arrest him?
No, he was not arrested. And no, all he had on him for property was he had his wallet. At first, he told me he had no ID on him, and then after I took him back outside, I asked him his name and his date of birth. And when I asked him his date of birth, he told me, you know, it was in 2002 or 2003, I believe. And that's when I said to him, well, you're not even 21 years old. And I said, you have no ID? And then he pulled out his wallet, and I could see the IDs that he had in his wallet. All he had was that one Massachusetts driver's license, which showed that he was 18 years of age.
But I guess my question is, he may have had another document in a pocket that he didn't pull out for you.
I did not find any, no. I did not find any other ones. I had him empty his pockets out, and that was the only thing he had in his pocket was his wallet.
Lieutenant Turowski, the night that you went in there before Thanksgiving, you took the photographs that we were looking at, the color photographs of the interior. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Lieutenant Turowski, when you're taking those photographs, and I looked at the photographs, did you see any food on any table or in any area in there?
No, I did not.
Nicole, I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, please, Jay.
I'm just quite disturbed and concerned about the history that's gone on at the crack, and not only the activity that's gone on, but building permits. He's done work without permits. It's taken a long time for him to try to legalize the work he's done on the patio. It just seems he says he wants to work with the city, but the record and the history doesn't prove that out. So I'll just leave it at that. That's my comment.
Thank you, Jay.
Madam Chair, could I make a comment also, please?
You may, sure.
Yes, I agree with Mr. Duca. There have been repeated attempts since COVID began and since establishments were allowed to open and the changing guidelines with these establishments, repeated attempts to work with Mr. Kelly, and we have seen repeated violations of the sector-specific COVID guidelines and mask orders throughout. So I too am very concerned, and I do not think that Mr. Kelly is sincere in his attempt to work with the city, as proven by the past tickets, and the several incidences that have been witnessed by health department inspectors and police department. And so with that, Madam Chairman, if there are no other comments, I'd like to make a motion.
Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding the crack pub at 536 Washington Street? Seeing
just with respect to the issue about food being on the table, I know that Lieutenant Turowski was in there about 9:30, and the pub has to close by 10. So, it's Steve's position that those patrons had eaten earlier and had concluded.
Thank you. Beck, I'm sorry, Ruth.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion if there's no further comments. I'd like to make a motion due to the fact that there have been repeated violations of the governor's COVID-19 orders, including mask order and sector-specific violations, to close the crack pub at 536 Washington Street till the Phase 4 reopening, as per Governor Baker's orders.
Second.
Sue, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. So on the motion to close the pub until Phase 4 reopening by Governor Baker, Deputy Chief Bayless.
Yes.
Director Duca.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Chief Keenan,
Yes?
Chair Crispo.
Yes.
That's 5 all in favor of the motion.
Thank you. So at this time, I would like to close this portion and just let Mr. Kelly know that Detective Folan will be down at the Crack Pub tomorrow. He'll call you in the morning to set up a time to take the licenses. And I believe that's it for now.
I'd just like to make an objection. I think this is a complete overreaction to what I see as, very, very minor issues that the city should be taking more responsibility to work with their businesses to try to keep them open. I mean, November 14th, Friendsgiving event. I mean, there wasn't even anyone inside the premise to make observations.
Attorney Pashuka, in all due respect, this is a pandemic, and all of our restaurants have been working very, very hard to maintain the city to be green. And we are ticking up as everywhere else is. And we are as concerned as the governor, as our mayor, and this board takes all of these violations very seriously. Very seriously. And, I'm sorry for Stephen. I really am. But at the same time, I have to be, aware of what's going on there. We have to keep our city safe. And that's what we intend to do first and foremost. So with that, we will move on to next on the agenda, looking for a motion to accept the minutes from the November 24th meeting and waive the reading. Thank you, Jay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And our next hearing is December 22nd, and that will be the 2021 liquor license renewal vote as well. So I'd like to thank you all, and I will see you on December 22nd. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.